Okay, let's dive right into this explainer, where we're going to unpack Mark Douglas's really profound insights from his landmark book, The Disciplined Trader. You know, if you have ever stared at a chart and felt your pulse start to race, you already know that trading is just this intense internal psychological battle. Mark Douglas actually went through total financial ruin before he realized a really hard truth. Until a trader conquers their own ego and their own fear, literally all the technical analysis in the world is completely useless. So today, we are breaking down exactly how to shift your mental paradigm so you can achieve true market discipline. Now, I want you to think about this for a second because this is a fascinating question. You might be brilliant, right? You might have an absolutely incredible work ethic. And yet, you step into the financial markets and suddenly you are consistently losing money. Why does this happen? Well, according to Douglas, it's because the traditional thinking habits that make us so successful in our everyday lives are actually the exact same habits that guarantee our failure in trading. To really get this, we have to start by totally dismantling what Douglas calls a grand illusion. Most of us enter the market believing that, hey, if we just find that perfect technical indicator, or if we just study enough chart patterns, we're going to crack the code, right? But that is a complete illusion. The best traders out there aren't separated from the pack because they have some superior technical knowledge. No, they succeed because they possess an elite level of mental discipline. And that discipline is what allows them to execute their strategy without any emotional interference. Think about it like this. From a really young age, society drills a simple formula into our heads. Hard work plus effort plus following the rules equals success. You push the boulder up the hill, you get results. But the market completely and utterly rejects that formula. The market is this chaotic tornado where your sheer brute force effort does not directly correlate with your financial reward. To actually survive out there, you have to abandon society's rules entirely and adopt a strictly probability-based mindset. Let's transition from everyday life and look at what the market really is. Unlike a normal job where you have an employee handbook or even a casino game that has clearly defined odds, the market is absolute, infinite chaos. It has zero built-in boundaries. I mean, there is unlimited potential for both profit and loss just staring you right in the face every single second. And stepping into this infinite environment naturally distorts human psychology. It feeds directly into our deepest greed and, honestly, our darkest fears. Because of this absolute chaos, we have to establish one fundamental, unbreakable law. The market is always right. Price is the ultimate truth. So whenever you catch yourself arguing with the market or stubbornly holding onto your biases or blaming the market because you took a loss, you need to recognize that as a psychological defense mechanism. The market does not care about your position. It doesn't care about your brilliant analysis. You have to just accept its reality without any resistance. Let's put this into perspective and contrast the safe boundaries of a normal job against the infinite limits of trading. In a standard 9-to-5, you've got managers, you've got defined hours, and there's a whole external structure governing your behavior. But in trading, the market is never going to tap you on the shoulder and stop you from making a terrible mistake. Your discipline has to come entirely from within. You and you alone are 100% responsible for creating and enforcing your own risk parameters. Furthermore, prices are in perpetual motion. Because the market flows continuously without any formal beginnings or ends, traders suffer from this extreme mental fatigue. There is no opening or closing bell that tells your brain, okay, it's safe to rest now. This total lack of structure forces you into making continuous, active decisions. When do I enter? How long do I hold? When do I exit? It is an absolute psychological marathon. So a absolutely crucial point here is that wasting your precious mental capital trying to figure out why the market moved is a complete trap. Traders will spend hours rationalizing their trades based on central bank announcements or the latest earnings reports, but Douglas points out that these reasons are completely irrelevant to your actual execution. Seeking the why is just your ego desperately trying to establish some false sense of control over all that market chaos. Instead of hunting for logical news rationalizations, we need to completely redefine price movement. At any given second, price is simply the aggregate of mass human behavior and the immediate supply-demand imbalance. That is it. It's not a personal attack against you, and it's certainly not a puzzle waiting to be solved. It is just pure, raw, collective psychology playing out in real time right on your screen. And this brings us face to face with the single biggest obstacle in your entire trading career, your own brain. Your mental environment dictates the exact lens through which you perceive the market. If you are operating from a place of fear, your internal space literally becomes a saboteur. Douglas teaches us this really profound idea that we don't actually trade the market itself. We trade our own belief systems and our own psychological baggage. I want you to think back to your very last trading session. Ask yourself, why did fear paralyze you when the perfect opportunity finally appeared? The setup met all of your criteria. Your strategy was screaming go, but your finger just hovered over the mouse and you couldn't pull the trigger. What was actually happening in your mind in that critical fraction of a second? Well, what's happening is that our brains actively manage information to protect us from past pain. Our minds are hardwired for survival. So if you took a really painful loss on a specific chart pattern last week, your brain subconsciously links that exact same pattern today with trauma. It will literally filter out the valid, winning signals and only highlight the market data that validates your fear, leaving you completely paralyzed. To survive this constant, unpredictable flux, you must prioritize adaptability over your ego-driven need to be right. It's like the ocean. You can't control the waves, but you can definitely learn how to surf. When you cling to these rigid expectations of what the market should do, it's like standing stiffly against a crashing wave. You're just setting yourself up for financial pain. The successful trader abandons the need to predict the future perfectly. Instead, they just ride the wave, adopting instantly as new information unfolds. Okay, so how do we actually fix this? The good news is Douglas doesn't just diagnose the problem. He gives us a highly actionable blueprint for taking back control. And it all starts with ruthless self-awareness. It means looking in the mirror, observing your own thoughts objectively, and dedicating yourself to aligning those deep subconscious beliefs with your conscious trading goals. Douglas maps out a very clear evolution for traders. Stage 1 is the mechanical stage, where you follow rigid rules without any exceptions. This stage isn't about making millions, it's just about proving that you can trust yourself to follow a system. Once that foundation is rock solid, you move to the subjective stage, where you start adding some controlled discretion. And finally, you reach the intuitive stage, where your execution becomes incredibly fluid, natural, and completely unemotional. When you finally achieve that intuitive mental state, it's like a superpower. You start to see the market entirely differently. You see mass psychology creating the price movement. You literally watch the crowd panic at support levels or get wildly greedy at resistance. And because you are disciplined and unemotional, you don't join in that panic. Instead, you step in and capitalize on their predictable reactive errors. To actively alter your mental framework like this, you have to follow strict daily practices. You have to deliberately neutralize the emotional charge of your past losses. You absolutely must definitively lock in your risk before you ever enter a trade. You have to execute your target flawlessly just to build that self-trust. And crucially, you have to observe the market objectively, without attaching your own personal self-worth to the outcome of any single trade. True discipline, you see, is an ongoing journey. It is not a final finish line that you just cross one day. You don't just read a book, flip a mental switch, and become a permanently disciplined trader. The psychological entropy of the market is always going to try to pull you back into those bad habits. Trading mastery requires daily mental maintenance. It literally means checking your ego at the coat rack every single morning before you even glance at a chart. I'm going to leave you with this final, empowering thought to reflect on as you approach your next trading session. The market offers you infinite freedom, but that exact same freedom will destroy you if you don't take 100% responsibility for yourself. Since the market provides absolutely zero rules to protect you, are you ready to step up, take absolute power, and rigorously enforce your own? Because ultimately, that is the true only path of the disciplined trader.